I made an Avatar penguin sledding game because Netflix took this scene, my favorite scene, out of their new show.
Will you go penguin sledding with me?
This scene was important for showing them as kids forced to grow up in a harsh world,
I haven't done this since I was a kid. You still are a kid.
as well as showing their budding friendship that would later blossom to romance. And the heartless people at Netflix were moving it and replacing it with adult and edgy scenes where in the first 5 minutes, a man is burned to death. I will say though, this show was immediately better than the 2010 adaptation.
My name is Ong,
I'm Aang.
and I'm the Avatar.
But that really is not a high bar to set. So I'm not sure how much credit I can give them. And in general, it feels like they maybe thought they were making an adult gritty show, something more like James Cameron's Avatar, with the actors thinking they were going to be blue.
And when I first heard that it was for Avatar, I thought I was going to be blue.
I had to make this game for beardless 10-year-old me who loved the goofy, fun, and relatable Aang. The new show is too focused on being serious and edgy.
What?
So that's why I decided to make a playable game out of this important and fun scene. A penguin sledding Avatar game. I needed 3D models of the characters, so I googled to find one of Aang. Nice, but the head looks like a bowling ball. This one has the classic outfit, but it's literally a toy, a figurine. I don't think I can use this in a game. And this one's horrifying, so horrifying enough that I think I'm gonna give up my search. My friend Bjorn is a talented 3D artist, so I asked him to make Aang, the penguin, and Katara, instead of continuing to look for something on the internet. While he got to work on the models, I started blocking out a level to begin testing the movement.
I like this. This is cute.
I needed to start coding the movement so that you can actually go penguin sledding down the slope. And it was moving, but somehow it was stuttering like a physical manifestation of my stuttering when I talk. You might be thinking, you don't stutter. Well, that's the magic of being able to re-record something and editing. So I decided to delete the movement as it felt as awkward as me on a first date. Delete! And now that that's gone, let's make something from scratch. Somehow, it has gotten even worse.
This is not okay. This needs to stop now.
Make sure to subscribe for more epic game dev vlogs like this one. As the famous philosopher Shia LaBeouf said, just do it! After making some key changes like swapping get key up to get key down, the movement was finally smooth and slippery like a penguin sledding on ice. But the turning was more like a penguin on a unicycle than a penguin on ice. So the turning was as bad as it always kind of was. Bjorn messaged me with the model of Aang that he'd been working on, and I gave him some pointers to make it look a little bit more like Aang. And for now, this needs to be put away. At this point, it had been hours of me just working on movement, so I decided to pivot to start implementing multiplayer. Doing multiplayer is a lot like running into a wall, over and over again. But I've done multiplayer multiple times in the past, so it only took me 3 days of running into a wall to get it working. The only major issue I was encountering was the second player was spawning below the level and not controllable. This one issue was very stubborn, and so I moved on. I went back to the movement and I fixed the turning and generally improved the movement. Then I started experimenting with different shaders and materials to create the snow and ice look for the level. The first ones I tried all did not work very well and broke the project. Some made the lighting so bright that you can't see anything. Some made the camera stop following the player, or all of the materials just look pink, and none actually looked like snow. So, not good. Luckily, I use version control, which if you don't know what that is, I can basically just go back in time to before I tried any of those shaders, before the project was broken, and go back to that version. And using that version, I tried one more snow shader and set of materials, and it actually worked. The fallen snow looked beautiful. The ground looked like snow. When you sled through it, it created a trail. And yeah, I was pretty happy with it. The sole cause of all my problems I was having with networking was a network transform component, one, that was on the player that should not have been there.
Why are you here?
When I removed this, everything was working with multiplayer, and the gameplay was also working pretty smoothly in both multiplayer and single player. Bjorn finished fixing and modeling Aang, and I think he looks much better now. Be sure to like the video if you agree. He had also finished modeling a penguin, so I had everything I need to start replacing the placeholder capsules and basic shapes in the game with actual art. So I spent some time implementing the art for the offline and online controllers for the game. Bjorn modeled Katara for the game as well. So I made it in multiplayer that the second player plays as Katara, and in single player, Katara follows you on her own penguin. Bjorn and I then worked on the level together to make it feel more like the scene from the show. One of the last things I needed to do was add a win condition to the game, so I added a collider to the end of the level to detect when someone reached the end. For multiplayer, giving the win to whoever reached it first. And for single player, I made it a time challenge, so it's just about getting to the end as fast as you can and improving your time. And the game is finished. If you want to play it yourself, there's a link down below in the description to play it for free right now. I'm really happy with how the game turned out. There's offline and multiplayer. It feels fun sledding down the slopes with the penguin, and the physics add a level of chaos and randomness. I do want to say I don't have anything major against the Netflix show. I think the actors did their best. I don't think the writing's that bad. And I think as a show, it's fine. It just didn't capture the fun and heart of the animated show for me. And yeah, making this game kind of filled that void for me. If you want to watch more, there's right now a video on screen where I made a game where you get to destroy a whole city as Omni-Man.